Narayanam namaskritam navanam chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayodhira nashta prayeshu bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashoki bhaktir bhavati naistiki nigama kapadurgaritam padam shukamakadam ritadropi samvitam jivata bhagavatam rasha malayam mahora hodasikamugi bhagam Krishna swadama bhagavate dhamagini karonashta dushamasha parona kodunoditam Twamapiyadabhishuddha Vishuddham Vibhusam Apyadena Bidam Vidutsadam Prabhakihir Tuhur Madhinam Sankresha Nirvana Musanti Nanyatam Twamapiyadabhishuddha Vishuddham Vibhusam Apyadena Bidam Vidutsadam Prabhaki Duho Madhinam Sankresha Nirvana Musanti Nanyatam Yakvasadaram Chadaram Bhujam Hare Bhajana Pakvata Padetyade Yatraka Babada Bhutu Mutu Shikim Kavartatam Bhajatam Shodharmataham Om Ganatimarandasya Ganana Sakya Chaksurin Minitam Yana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavabhistam Savitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tarati Swaparandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sa Sri Rupam Sagadaram Sahagana Raganata Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shibishakan Vitam Jam Namaham Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pistaya Bhutare Shrimati Bhakti Paranta Swami Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesa Sunyori Praskita De Sadarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, Govinda, Rakesh Raghava. Who else here? Rakesh twice, Govinda Dev, Maheshwari, Hare Krishna. I'm starting to see comments in a little tiny window here. Thank you very much for joining us, and 5 more people so far live on Facebook. It's Wisdom Wednesday, folks. How are you this morning, Rob? Where are you? Are you in Draper Field somewhere?
No, not today, Prabhuji. A little bit of a later start today. Got a bit of a different schedule on Wednesdays now. So I'm just getting some breakfast finished up at home.
Tell me something about Krishna and get it started.
Krishna is ever full of grace and ever forgiving, and he blesses us with ever forward progression, and we never lose any progress we make towards him.
Even if you mess up a time or two, I won't make any complaint. Just rise up again. You can still shine like a saint. Is a paraphrase of several verses in the Bhagavad Gita. Even though society may condemn you, your family may call you a fool, co-workers call you deluded, still I will not give up my hope that someday I'll be able to see Krishna face to face. And that hope is not based on our efforts, but it's based on the unlimited, merciful nature of the Lord. So thank you very much for starting us off on the best possible foot of meditation on the unlimited mercy of the Lord. Narada Muni says here in the 17th verse, the 5th chapter, first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kyakva Shraddhanam Charanam Bhujam Hare. If you give up your shraddham, the duties that adhere to this body, as a countryman, as an American, as a male, as a human being, Charanam Bhujam Hare, in favor of serving the Lord, instead of building your own house, you build the temple of the Lord, and you live very simply. Instead of decorating yourself with expensive clothes, Brooks Brothers clothes, you decorate the deity of the Lord very nicely. Last Sunday in the temple in Salt Lake City, or last Saturday, we had a sort of a recognition ceremony for all those members who had given sets of clothes to Radha Govind up there. Some of them had purchased them with their hard-earned money from Mukadwalers in India, and some of them had bought the material and made those clothes with their very own hands. Everybody got a little picture of the deity. Govinda Bhakta was so thoughtful to have arranged this. Everyone got a little picture square that you could hang on the wall of our deities with the clothes that those people are donating. So there's a verse in the seventh canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam where it says that if you decorate something, the reflection of that decorated person in the mirror is also very beautiful. So if you're a woman and you put up makeup and jewelry and earrings and you have your hair nicely coiffed, then your reflection in the mirror looks beautiful as well. There's no difference. So the devotees become beautiful, effulgent by decorating the deity, by building a house for the deity. And when you do all this for yourself, when you basically set yourself up as the enjoyer, God, you lose your effulgence. You get pale. You lose your shakti, your potency, your vim, your vigor, your zest, your gusto, I suppose, your passion. I suppose there's any number of words for this in the English language because it's without it we can't live. Can't bounce out of bed in the morning looking forward to what the day offers. So how much attention and expense can you lavish on this body? What is the nature of this body? Krimi bead bashma sankashat yashe bhai tashacha buddhadrat katkite kim vedo niryodika. One who knows the Vedas, one who knows the conclusion of the scriptures, one who knows that I'm not this body, I'm eternal spirit soul, does not waste time and energy on promoting this body, knowing that the last chapter of this body is it will be stool, ashes, or earth. If you're a Christian, it'll be buried. It'll end up as earth, eaten by insects. If you're Hindu, it'll be burned. It'll end up as ashes. Or it may just be thrown into the forest to provide food for scavengers. So the destination of this body is earth, stool if it's passed out by the scavengers, or ashes. So why would one compromise one's principles and degrade one's valuable energy and talents for the promotion of this body? Rather, the devotees glorify the Lord, and in doing so glorify themselves. Just like, again, if you decorate the face, then the reflection of that face in the mirror is also decorated. Bhajana pakvatapated yadi atra babuddha mushakim kovartatam bhajatam shadamaha. There's no loss if one engages in the service of the Lord, and there's no gain if one engages in the service of the body or the extension of the body in terms of friends, family, and country. Now, here's the point that we've been discussing this week, and that is that Arjuna has asked, Kachin dobaya vibashtash, janabhami apatisto vimudada mitya chara saujate. What is the fate of someone who advances in devotional service and then desists, retreats due to some past habit or conditioning or just unfortunate circumstances? They fall down. We talked about Bharat Maharaj, who was no less than king of the world, who was 99% Krishna conscious. At a young age, he gave up his wives, his children, the sovereignty of his throne in order to seek out Krishna consciousness. So you can just imagine how sincere he was. We're living in an age of paper plates and plastic spoons and prefab houses and plastic cars and iPhones and iTabs, and think how attached we are. If you had the opportunity to drop this body now and go to the spiritual world, would you do it with gusto, with zest, with enthusiasm, with alacrity, or would you like, there's a story of Indra. Indra is the king of heaven. He sports with heavenly damsels called apsaras in gardens called the Nandana garden. One time he got cursed. He's always envious of anybody, seeing them as competition. He thinks that anybody who has any mystic powers or yoga advancement or anyone who's performed sacrifices is doing it to dethrone him. It's not really the case, but that's the way Indra thinks. And one day he got cursed to become a hog, and as a hog he had a sow, he had a wife, he had little piglets, and after the time of his curse had expired, a chariot arrived to take him back to heaven, and he thought, well, if I go back to heaven, then who will take care of my wife? Who will take care of my kids? That's such is the attachment that grows in this material world. So On the other hand, with devotional service, there's no loss, there's no diminution. Whatever one does is to one's personal benefit. And we talked extensively yesterday about the case of King Bharat, how sincere he was in giving up everything. He had it all: wealth, youth, beauty, worldwide sovereignty. But he gave it up all. Just how sincere was he in order to go to the forest and become Krishna conscious? And yet, some or other, due to an unfortunate set of circumstances, he ended up having a deer as a dependent, and thinking of that deer at the time of his death, took his next birth as a deer. However, even having fallen into a subhuman species because of his past Krishna conscious, he did not lose the recollection of his past life as a devotee. Samam Shmitir Mega Dihipibera says, although I fell down into the body of a deer, Samam Shmitir, I was still able to remember the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna Archana Prabhavanti. I was able to remember in the body of a deer, and as such, I frequented the ashrams of the sages. I eavesdropped on their katha. I took the remnants of their prasadam. And then, excuse me, in his third lifetime, he became Jad Bharat. And then in his fourth lifetime, he went back to home, back to God. And we quoted this verse about how even a little Krishna consciousness stands one in great stead. 6th canto, 1st chapter, 19th verse. Sakrin mana Krishna pararavinda nishevitum tadgunurigaha neteya mana pashavritam shrabnihi chirnantan nishkrititham. Although not fully Krishna conscious, not having fully realized Krishna, but persons who have even once wholeheartedly and heartfeltedly in a tough situation, even in a situation perhaps of their own making, they're getting the reactions to their own bad choices in the past. But when this comes upon them, they wholeheartedly throw up their hands and say, Krishna. Consciously or unconsciously, in devotion, meaning Krishna or not meaning Krishna, some or other, the name Krishna bubbles to their lips in the time of crisis. And it says that they're freed of more sins than they can commit, just having uttered the name of Krishna once. It says, Shrapni means in dreams. They do not see even in dreams Yamaraj order carriers who come with ropes to drag away the subtle bodies of sinful people to the Lord of Death's abode for punishment. Now we're going to talk about another case. Yesterday we talked about Bharat, who fell from the human form of life to the subhuman form of life. Now we're going to talk about Chitraketu, who fell from the position of more or less a demigod to the position of a demon, from the highest material position that a human being, a mortal, can have, to the lowest, potentially the most envious and degraded. Now, you may know this story. Chitraketu was flying by in his aerial plane. He saw Lord Shiva on the ground with Parvati, the most beautiful wife, on his lap, Gauri, white-hued complexioned Gauri, and he was explaining philosophy. Chitraketu thought this was marvelous. It is said, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karya Vicharakare Pabecha Matkaram. If you like logic and argument and philosophical debating, then you will love the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma, Bhagavad Dharma. It will so inspire you, your intellectual, your philosophical faculties, that you'll get goosebumps. Your hair will rise on the back of your head and your mouth will fall open. Prabhupada said there's more books, there's more philosophy than we can read even in a lifetime. So with his beautiful wife on his lap, no less, Shiva was expounding the philosophy of Bhagavad Dharma. Chitraketu just, he laughed out of awe at Lord Shiva's self-control. It says, Visha vinavartate narahashadedam vashaham vibhara param drishna nivartate. Say one who hasn't got a higher taste is running after the sense stimuli of this material world. Boy is looking for a girl is looking for a boy. Pumsam striyami tuni bhav metan. This is the driving principle of the material world, because they haven't got a higher taste. They haven't got the taste for the sublime, subtle, spiritual philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Dharma. But one who has a taste some or other in the association of devotees and a realized spiritual master, never goes back to the mundane pleasures of this material world. One of the Alwars, I forget, was Yamunacharya Kulashekar, he said, Yadabadi, Mama Krishna Padadavan Navad Navad Asha Dumani, Yadabadi Batadane Sangame, Bhavati Mukha Shishti Mashan Mamcham. He said, I used to be just like everybody else, rubbernecking when a good looking girl would pass by. But now that I have tasted the higher nectar of Krishna consciousness, Navad Navad Rasha, which gives me newer and newer and fresher realizations, it doesn't become stale like sex life, pleasures of gourmet eating. The material pleasures become stale. The pleasure of Krishna consciousness is Nava Navadash. It's ever fresh. He said, since I've tasted the rasa, the ever fresh, ever increasing, never stale nectar of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As a result of that, I don't even think of sex life. And when I do, my lips curl with distaste at the thought. This is the effect of experiencing the higher taste. Rashoham, Rasho, Param Vishna Navarte. One never goes back. It says in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Atabasha Parambojo Makaran Kiman Yara Sarape Ayusho Yada Sarape. One who has once tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna never can forget that taste ever again. Just want to have it again and again and again and again. Become mad after it, leaving behind all of the sense gratificatory appetites of this material world. There's something totally transformative about one who has got the opportunity to associate with pure devotees of the Lord and listen to the katha. Don't you agree, Sundari Priya? Hare Krishna. Bhavi's jumped aboard here. Jean, Rakesh has commented several times. Brent, good morning, Brent. Priya Krishna, very low sound. Yeah, very low. I got the microphone right in my face here. Thanks for that head up. I'll scoot forward. The microphone right in my face here. I hope that's better for you. Thanks for giving me a heads up, Maheshwari Devi Dasi. Anyway, going back to our narrative for this Wisdom Wednesday, when Chitraketu laughed out of appreciation for Shiva's self-control, then Parvati mistook it. She misunderstood it. She thought that the laugh was derisive. And she cursed Chitraketu, who was more or less a demigod, to then take birth in the demonic races. His next birth, he was named Vrtrasura. Now, Vrtrasura, again, just as had happened with Bharat, retained his memory of his previous life. Even though he was born in a demoniac family and surrounded by bad association and had, due to the body that he had assumed, presumably Avritam Gana, had lusty impulses like anger, attachment, possessiveness, and madness. Still, he remembered his previous life. He remembered his Krishna consciousness. And he just wanted to quit this material body as quickly as he could and then go back to the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. So he knew that the more trouble, the more disruption he created in the universe, the more quickly the demigods would move to appeal to Lord Vishnu and make an arrangement to kill him. And that's what he wanted. He didn't want to maintain his body as a demon any longer than minimally necessary. And so he created huge disruptions. He created chaos in the universe. He was huge. He was powerful. The earth shook when he walked. His head touched the clouds. He defeated one after another, wherever he went. He conquered and defeated, terrorized. Finally, the gods went to Vishnu and said, this is intolerable. He's on the verge of snuffing out all religious practices, all Krishna consciousness. Help us, Lord. The Lord said, you need to defeat Indra with his thunderbolt to kill Vrtrasura. and you need to further empower Indra with the bones of a sage named Dichi. You need to get Dichi to donate his bones, and then you'll fashion from his bones, or you'll enhance the power of the thunderbolt. You'll also give my armor, the Narayana Kavacha, the armor of Vishnu, to Indra, so that he'll be invulnerable. There's no way that he can be killed. And you'll also give him an infallible weapon of his thunderbolt, enriched with the bones of Dadichi. And the demigod said, well, why would Dadichi give up his body? Everybody is attached to their body. In fact, at this moment, Dadichi is doing severe penances and austerities with his body, and in the hopes that he'll be elevated to the heavenly planets. So why would he give up his body, which, although temporary, is our greatest asset? And Narayan said, just go ask him and see what he says. So they went to Dadichi and broke his meditation. He said, what do you want? And they said, we want your body. We need your bones to fashion a weapon that would kill Vrtrasura. And Dadichi made the same arguments that the demigods had earlier made to Vishnu, just to kind of mess with their heads, just to kind of play with them. He said, why would I give away my body? I'm doing austerities, and it's due to this body as an instrument that I'm going to get elevation to higher planets. At this point, the demigods got pale. Their worst fears had been realized. Their words had been prophetic, it seemed. And then Dadichi just cracked a small smile, and he said, gotcha. He said, everything I wanted to achieve with this body, I've achieved. There's no more that I can attain by penances and austerity, so I'll give up this body. Elsewhere it said, someone who hangs on to this body, kind of squeezes the last drop of sense gratification out of this body until the very fag end of death. Such a person who does not spend their body to invest this body for a higher cause, such as the opportunity that Dadichi had to kill Vrtrasura and make the world safe. Someone who steps back or shirks from that opportunity to spend the body, to invest the body, sacrifice the body for the betterment of others, is pitied. Such a person who has that level of bodily attachment is pitied even by the rocks. So Dadichi was not such a person. He pretended he was, just to have a little fun with the demigods for a moment or two there. But he willingly gave up his body, and as the demigods watched, he exited from the Brahmarodra, the hole in the top of his head, and went beyond, upwards beyond the range of their vision. They took his bones and they made. So Indra's here. He's totally equipped. He's got impenetrable armor, the Narayana Kavacha. He's got his thunderbolt, which is now made totally infallible by the bones of Dadichi. And yet, as he stands before Vrtrasura, Vrtrasura is so big, so imposing, that Indra loses his nerve. He starts trembling. He can't raise his arm to cock the thunderbolt. And it looks like he's going to have a meltdown right there in front of Vrtrasura. And Vrtrasura, this is what, he doesn't want to defeat Indra. He doesn't want to walk away from this confrontation. He wants to lay down his body so that he can resume devotional service to the Lord. So what happens is something unprecedented, unusual, is that Vrtrasura gives Indra a pep talk. He encourages him. He tells him, everything is ordained by Vishnu. You are a representative of Vishnu. You've got Vishnu's armor. By Vishnu's arrangement, your thunderbolt is infallible. You cannot not kill me. You cannot lose this battle. All the odds are in your favor. You've got home field advantage. You've got overwhelming power, overwhelming favor. And on top of all of that, I want you to kill me. Nobody wants you to be more victorious than me. Nobody wants you to kill me more than me. These are the actual words. 20th verse, 11th chapter, 6th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Nanveshe braja tava shokatejasha hara didichas tapasha tatejata taneva shatrum jahi vishnu yantito yato harir bijara shir ganashtata. Vrtrasura says, O Indra, king of heaven, Praja Tava Shakra Tejasa, the thunderbolt that you carry has been empowered by the prowess of Lord Vishnu and the strength of Didichi's austerities. Hare Didiches Tapashata Tejita, Taneva Shatrum Jaha Vishnu Yantrido. You're blessed, you're here, you stand before me to kill me in accordance with Vishnu's order. And Vishnu, his order is never contradicted, it's never contramanded. Whatever Vishnu wants always happens because he's within every atom, he's in the heart of every living being. He has complete control. Andantarashtu paramano chantarashtam govinda maripurusham tamham. Therefore, Gato Harir Vijaya Shri Gunastita, your victory is assured. There is no way you cannot win this battle. And then after you win this battle, imagine the kettle drums from heaven, the flowers of shower, the ticker tape parade. Your name will be sung by generations and generations of men and demigods. Vrtrasura is making Indra an offer that he can't refuse. He's talking confidence and faith into the trembling Indra, just like Krishna poured confidence and faith into Arjuna from the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra. So Vrtrasura not only assured Indra that his thunderbolt was invisible, but he also encouraged him to use it as soon as possible. Everybody has a time. You've heard the saying, your time has come. Vrtrasura is saying to Indra, your time has come. Strike while the iron is hot. Make hay while the sun shines. Things could not be more favorably aligned on your side. So don't delay. Don't clavium mash magama neta try sudam ridium jakpatishta parantapa. Just like Krishna says to Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They do not befit an Aryan, one who knows the higher values of life. So cast off this degrading impetus, O Arjuna, it does not become you. Vrtrasura says, Indra, your secret is safe with me. I won't tell anybody about your lapse here, your moment of uncertainty and indecision, your cowardice. It's just between you and me. If you pull yourself together, throw that thunderbolt right now without any further prevarication or delay, you'll be glorious. And I will go back home, back to God. He's assuring Indra over and over that he'll enjoy victory, he'll enjoy fame, name, reputation. He'll be able to remain in the heavenly planets. Everybody will become happy. And if he doesn't fight, he'll be called a coward. He'll have ignominy to deal with. Vrtrasura will continue to have to linger in this material world in the body of a Sura. His desire to be back home, back to the devotional service, the Lord will be thwarted. See, anybody who's a gentleman does not want to loiter in this material world even 1 second longer than is necessary. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami said this temporary material world, permeated by lust and greed and envy and competitiveness, compared to the spiritual world, it's like a toilet. Nobody wants to live in a toilet. What's the toilet for? You go in, you do your business, you pinch your nose, you spend as little time in there as possible, and then you get out. And when you get out, you breathe a sigh of relief and you take a breath of fresh air. So Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, Abrahma Purnarabhitin, Mama Petra Purna Dukalayam Hashashvatam, from the highest planet to the lowest planet, they're all places of misery where in repeated birth and death take place. So here's the subtext. Indra was going to get victory. His position as a demigod in the higher planets was assured. His name and fame was assured. The competition was going to be eliminated. Vrtrasura is going to be killed, defeated in battle, laid low in the dust, become lifeless. But here's the takeaway for us. The winner was Vrtrasura. The loser is Indra. Indra is going to remain in the material world. His position in the material world is even going to be reinforced by this victory. He's going to attain more piety, more punya. He's going to become more satisfied with himself and his position. He's going to have less competition. That means that it's going to be a long time before Indra is even going to want to get out of the material world, what to speak of take steps in order to do so. Now, Vrtrasura, although from a material point of view is going to be killed and defeated, crushed, he is going to get out. Mamupetya Purnarjanma Dukalayam Asasunam Namanti Mahat Samsarim Paramam Gatim. Those who are actually in knowledge do not want to loiter in this temporary world full of miseries. They want to go back home, back to Godhead. Those who have preceded us back to home, back to Godhead, never return to this material world. Those who go to the planets of the demigods always return. Those who go to the spiritual world, Punarnavartate Tadama Parama, having attained the supreme abode, they never again return to this material world. Now, the winner is Vrtrasura, and the loser is Indra. In all of this, Vrtrasura's inner life, his inner emotions, are a bar to which we should all aspire. Vrtrasura's hankering after going to the spiritual world is ideal. It's something we should try to taste for ourselves. Lord Jesus Christ said the price of the ticket for going back to the kingdom of God are the tears of hankering that you shed in order to achieve that. We must be so eager to go back home that we shed tears in order to do so. It should not be a matter of indifference. We should not be blasé about it. I notice in the Western countries, perhaps because we see God as an old man in the sky with a beard, we're not so eager. We don't have so much fervor to go back home, back to Godhead. For us, tomorrow's okay. Now we have our house and our car, our bank balance, and our little trinkets and toys and gadgets. We have our church to which we go and enjoy social interactions. And so we're kind of complacent. We think we're all right. We're looking good. We're feeling good. Everything's good. And when that inevitable time comes that I have to drop my body, I hope I will have paid my insurance policy. I hope I will have enough of attendance record at church. I have given enough donations, sung enough hymns, that when I have to, when I'm torn from this body, then I'll go to the spiritual world. But there's no particular fervency. There's no particular eagerness. It's kind of like when it happens, it'll happen. But in the Indian culture, there is such eagerness, such expectation, such excitement about going back to the spiritual world that people want it yesterday. They can't wait. This isn't just poor, disenfranchised people. It is rich people. It is the nature of the culture that we see God as a vibrant, Navayodhanam child, eternally youthful, humorous, thrilling personality to be in the association of. So everybody wants to go back home, back to Godhead ASAP. Here is what Vrtrasura says by way of expressing his eagerness to go back home, back to Godhead. 21st, 4th verse, 11th chapter 6, canto the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a prayer that he tenders to the Lord just before getting killed. Aham hare tava padaikamula dasano dasho babhitasambhaya manashmerateshu paderganam ste granita vakarma karoti aya. Oh my Lord, when, indeed, when will I again be able to be this dasan of dasan of dasan, the servant of your servants, and take shelter at your lotus feet? When will my mind always think again unceasingly of transcendental qualities? When will my words always glorify your attributes and my body always engaged in the loving service of your Lordship? Aham hare tava paraikamura dasano dasho bhavitashamu manash marateshu padergaram Pranita Vakarma Karotyaya. And in the 26th verse, he says, Ajata Paksha Iva Mataram Kaga. Paksha means birds. Just as the baby bird hankers after the parent to come back to the nest and shove some food in their mouth. We've all seen on Discovery Channel little birds, the silhouette of the little bird with his mouth open above the nest, just waiting for the mom or dad to come back with a worm or something to feed it with. Sanum yata batsara suda arta. The little calves, generally they have some milk from their mother in the morning and then they're separate. Krishna himself, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his friends used to take the small calves out into the pasturing grounds during the day. There's a period of time when the calves and the cows have to be separate because otherwise the calves will drink too much milk and they'll get sick and unhealthy. So they drink in the morning, and then after having been out in the pasturing grounds all day long, they return to where their mothers are and they eagerly await that second drink of milk of the day. This is what Krishna used to do. Take them out for most of the day and bring them back for a reunion with their moms at the end of the day. So you can imagine after several hours being separated from their mom and separated from them, how eager those calves are to once again drink from their mother's milk bag. So as birds are eager for the parents to come back to the nest and feed them, as calves are eager to meet their mothers at the end of the day and get another drink. Priyam Priyeva Vishnum Vishana. As a newlywed wife, she's been newlywed, but shortly after the wedding, her husband had to go abroad on a business trip. He's been gone for several weeks or several months. How expectantly she hankers for his return. How she dotes on the thought of her husband coming back when they'll be able to resume their intimate friendship and relationships. Priyam Priyava Bhushanam. How the beloved longs, how the lover belongs for the beloved to return. So these three examples are given to show how much Vrtrasura hankers after leaving his mundane asuric body and going back home, back to God. If you don't feel some resonance, if something doesn't stir within you upon hearing this fervent prayer of the devotee Vrtrasura, then what you need to do is start chanting more attentively. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You need to review the 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name and see where you have become a little bit sloppy. Prabhupada says you should never just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. The secret of successful chanting is heartfelt chanting, hankering. And even after a small advancement, one gets a taste. Krishna whets our appetite. He gives you some hors d'oeuvre, some ecstatic feelings, even in the neophyte stage, just to encourage you to continue your process of devotional service and come to the full fruited destination of love of God. Narada Muni was just a small boy, orphaned by his mother. He wandered under the protection of the Lord all over the universe, chanting the Lord's holy names. And at one point, the Lord appeared to him just for a second. And then the Lord told him, Sakrid Yadasharamubam Etad Kami, Matkana Sanakasuru, Matkama Sanakasuru, Sarvan Muchadurikcham. The Lord explained, I have just appeared before you for a second in order to increase your hanker, in order to whet your appetite, that after having seen me for a moment, you'll redouble your efforts. You'll double down on your sincere and attentive, offenseless chanting in order to all the more quickly arrive at the shelter of my lotus feet. So heartfelt chanting is our takeaway this morning. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Let's see if I can scroll here and see who we've got with us. Rob, you have any comment here to wind things down on Wisdom Wednesday? Priya Krishna, I hope the sound quality improved and you're able to hear us a little better. Thanks for your heads up on that. Anything, Rob? You finished your breakfast there. Shukshma tuning in from Iowa. Jai Sri Radhe, Hari Krishna. William Griffith, Hari Bo from Los Angeles. Jai Sri. There's a comment here. I can only see just a little bit of it. Many of the things that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that is related to Lord Indra. Yes, including his cloud and his elephants. Yes, yes, good point. The things that Krishna says to Indra with the Govardhan Leela, with the Vrtrasura Leela, are very similar to the pep talk that Krishna gave Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita as well. Thank you. Yes. Jayashree says that Prabhupada made everything accessible, easy for us to attain Krishna. He basically delivered Krishna to us on a platter. All we have to do is take it. Everything is there, all the elements. We just have to muster up some sincerity that after so many lifetimes in this material world, we're fed up. We're ready to Krishna Baliya Sadiva Bahira, Taiva Maya Tari Samsara. We're fed up with this cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age, and we're ready to go back home, back to Godhead. Radhe Sham. Jayasri Radhe has a lot of comments. I urge you to peruse her comments as well. Too many to read, and I only have like 1 inch, so I can only read a couple of lines at a time. Thank you, Rakesh. A lot of comments. Appreciate all those. I will answer them. I have an appointment with the dermatologist, my 6-month biannual appointment. I have to take off for. But again, it's been a joy to be back with you. As you know, we had back-to-back festivals on June the 12th. About 2,000 people came to our Festival of Colors in Salt Lake City. It was highly successful. The wonderful return to the live events arena. So happy. Then just the following weekend, we had our 20th anniversary. Some of the posts are there on our Facebook site. I encourage you to check in with those. And we had to recover after that week also, but now we're back. We've had consistent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Looking forward to being with you again on the weekend, and then again next week. Motivational Monday, Transcendental Tuesday, Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for your hearts. Thank you for taking the time out for your Sangha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.